This is Beer Guys Radio.
It is.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us back in the studio. We survived Super Bowl weekend.
We did.
Had us a little shindig, a soiree, Brian.
Yes, indeed.
It was fun.
A hoedown.
It was fun. A hoedown. Yes.
A hoedown.
Does that require hay and like
Probably
cowboy boots,
pitchforks,
and pitchforks,
yeah.
cowboy boots,
fringe on your shirt?
Yes. Yeah. So I didn't have a fringe shirt on. Next time I will, though. Yeah, y'all. Thanks for joining us. We got some good beer talk today. We're going to cover a variety of topics. Lots of cool stuff. Drink some good beers. Have a good time. So we're going to jump right into it. You got any questions, comments, suggestions, complaints? Leave them in the chat, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts.
Did it drop?
It dropped.
Jeez, man. This
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I looked up and the screen went black.
Okay. All right.
We're doing it
Do
again.
it. Just go, 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 go.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show,
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in beautiful Marietta, Georgia. This week, we're going to be talking beer news, current events, Brian. We've got some Super Bowl commercial talk.
We do.
A variety of things. Bourbon scandals.
Oh, yeah.
Who
Bourbon
knows?
scandals.
Yeah, good stuff. But I am Tim Dennis, and with me, as always, my good friend, co-host, Brian Hewitt.
That's right. So, Super Bowl commercials, we're definitely going to talk about those. There's a Cheerwine Ale collaboration we're probably
Yes.
going to get into a little bit. Virtual reality beer tastings and a whole bunch of other stuff, too. It's going to be a show absolutely jam-packed with beer intrigue, Tim.
Jam-packed.
Yes.
Did we talk about our desire for a Cheerwine beer on the show to where we have some proof that we talked about it before it actually happened, or was that off air that we were talking about?
I don't know if it was on the show or in the live stream, or I think we did.
Yeah.
And I may have seen that mentioned on Twitter before we did it, so I don't know if we could take full credit for it.
Subconscious there that it was.
Yeah,
it was
I know
out
that
there.
somebody specifically
Okay.
mentioned that, and but yes, I kind of agreed with it, and I think we talked about it. And the thoughts were that it seemed unlikely that the Cheerwine folks would be down with a beverage with their name containing alcohol. Perhaps.
See, I think we mentioned that that's a possibility, but I also thought North Carolina, born and bred Cheerwine, and there's so many good breweries in North Carolina. I kind of saw it as I'm like, this could happen.
Oh yeah,
This could happen. But since we're already talking about that, it's happening.
it is happening.
It's
yes.
happening, Brian. Noda Brewing is getting together. They're doing a Cheerwine Ale, and you had commented to them on Twitter, hey, we were just talking about a hard Cheerwine. They were quick to correct you. This is not a hard Cheerwine.
It is not.
It is a Cheerwine Ale, a wheat ale, correct?
Correct. It is a Cheerwine wheat ale. So
That sounds
a wheat
good to
ale
me.
made with
That
Cheerwine
sounds good
itself.
to me.
Yeah,
I want to try that. So
I think it'd be good.
I'll have to see if it makes it down here to Georgia, or maybe we'll have to do a run to North Carolina.
I think we're going to need mules. They're putting it out. They are releasing it in limited kegs, but also there will be cans in distribution. Unfortunately, the distribution I think is all going to be North Carolina retailers.
Okay.
So it's going to be fairly limited, but yeah,
We know people,
yeah, exactly.
so we'll see what we can work out there. That would be a fun one to try.
You know what
but-
I didn't realize is how much people had been using Cheerwine and other things. They mentioned in the press release that people have been using it like cocktails and in barbecue sauce, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I had no idea. I just knew it was like a staple drink here in the South.
I think sodas are not that uncommon in barbecue sauces or marinades. My mom used to do a brisket where she used Coke in there, and it was for flavor as well as some tenderization. Is that the right word? Is that a word?
tenderization. Yeah.
So it was
close
part of
enough.
the marinade there, but it does make it good. I know people have made like a basting sauce with Coke in their barbecue sauce, like you mentioned. So those type of flavors and that caramel stickiness sugar lend themselves pretty well to that.
I think there was a place and we went to it that's since closed. It was a barbecue joint. The barbecue sauce, I think I was convinced it was possibly made with maybe like a Dr. Pepper or something like that.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that was Cheerwine actually. And I just, through the smoking process or whatever, just missed,
Could've been
my guess on
Little
what it
smoked
was.
Cheerwine there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be
Interesting.
bad. But so what'd you think of the Super Bowl overall? What did you think of the entire spectacle of the Super Bowl?
That was a good show. It's down to the wire. I know people had issues with calls made that affected the outcome of the game, but as somebody that wasn't terribly vested in who won, I was definitely Philly side, but it isn't the end of the world for me, really.
I think the fact that you referred to it as a good show instead of a good game probably is pretty indicative of your of your football.
Well, I'm used to
passions
talking about our show, but
there.
yes,
They
good
were sporting
game.
very well there. It was no, but it was a good game, competitive game. If you're was talking to a friend of mine and he commented he's in Philly, big Philly fan, and he's like, I don't want a close game. He's like, I don't want a good game. He's like, a close game is good when you're not emotionally invested in one of the teams in there. You don't want to be stressed the entire time. So,
And that's probably why I wanted it the other way around, because absolutely just one team just absolutely stomping on another team doesn't do much for me.
Right.
I'm like,
And
this is sad.
It can get right. It can get to a point where we're like, oh, this is just unpleasant to watch. This is just a slaughter.
But when they're doing strategic things and safeguarding their timeouts to try to use it and leverage it and using strategy, just with the bureaucracy of the game in general, just to try to make it happen. That's neat. Like everybody's pulling at the stops, trying to make everything happen, both on the field and off. So
what did you think about Rihanna's halftime game?
Her halftime game. That was a good game. Now, it was entertaining. It was a good spectacle. I thought we had a streaming sync issue when we were watching it. So no,
that's she was off. It was poor lip syncing. I like the songs. I thought the show itself was good, but there were several times it was almost hard to follow because she was just so far off what was happening there. And again, I thought it was way off, and you commented, I think our stream's just out of sync, but a lot of other people said the same thing.
Because she was actually singing, looking like she was singing when there was none of her voice, and then just not at all.
Looking off in the other direction when the songs were playing.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, maybe she couldn't hear anything, but I would figure she could hear. If she has to sync, shouldn't she be able to hear what she's syncing to?
I'm sure they've got a monitor in the ear there where they can.
So that was bad.
Yeah, it was. But Brian, I think the important thing here is the commercials that played, the beer commercials.
Yes.
There were several beer commercials during the Super Bowl, and this was the first time, I think it was in 30 years. Do you know, Brian, that AB has not had an exclusive?
I think it was about 30 years
or so,
something to that effect.
So we got some variety.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the interesting thing is the variety was that instead of having all of the commercials, AB InBev had 5, and everybody else, Miller Coors and Sam Adams, had 1 each. So it was kind of like, I think they saved a bunch of money in that way. They probably got better bang for their buck, maybe, but by letting their competition have some commercial time, their competition really outshone them, in my opinion. Did you have a particular favorite beer commercial?
And I'm looking here at the notes on all of the commercials that played, and I missed several of them. It looks like I had no idea that AB InBev had 5 out there. I remember the one where they had what were the 2 beers? Miller and where they had
Miller and Coors Light.
Miller and Coors Light, or Light and Coors Light, right? And then at the end, they Blue Moon.
Yeah,
so I remember that one for sure. But that's your cousin's brighter boss, and that was a fun one. I don't have a favorite because I don't remember some of these.
Yeah, that was I really liked the Miller Lite versus Coors Light. Boom, surprise! It's Blue Moon. That was my second favorite. The one I liked the most, I think I'm sure you saw this, the Bush one with Sarah McLachlan.
I caught the end. I caught the end of that one. Was she singing something
in the arms of the angel, like the shelter dog? It was a reference to the shelter dogs, and the guy opens up the can and says "Bush," so it sounds like he's hushing her a little bit. It's just like wrong shelter, Sarah. And by the way, that's a wolf. And so she's
Okay.
in a tent with a wolf, and then she goes, you know.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay, I missed that.
that was my favorite.
Sounds like a fun one.
It
though.
was, yes. You were too busy. I don't know, drinking and
probably
running your
eating
mouth,
chicken
probably.
wings and
Yeah.
eating chicken wings and drinking. That's
Your
right.
cousin's Brighter Boston was also pretty good, where the dude had a daydream about people from Boston being nice to each other, saying all the things like they're about to fight, and then doing nice things for each other. So that was a fun one. That was like my third favorite. So I think all the other ones were kind of not terribly memorable. Like there was a Caddyshack one for Michelob Ultra that I'm not a big Caddyshack or a golf guy, so maybe it didn't speak to me as well. All the other ones were forgettable. And I think that the three that I mentioned were good, but not some of the greatest that are out there. But
Okay.
yeah. So it was entertaining.
Fun,
Tim.
Brian. Fun.
Yeah. So did I mention that AB InBev had 5 commercials
You
in this
did.
thing?
Yeah.
And
I
we
just-
didn't even realize they had more than 2.
No.
Yeah.
No, we
so
didn't.
so forgettable.
So that's how memorable the commercial.
exactly. Yeah.
Brian, please announce me for Beers of the Week.
Oh, yes, it must be time for beers of the week.
Break and then do it, bring in. So I make a note of Brian's huge screw up here so I can fix it. So,
Well, Tim, I think it's time for the beers of the week.
Brian, as always, we have a fantastic list of beers to get into here. We want to thank our friends at Nest, the Nest, for always sponsoring this segment. Craft beer, barbecue, good stuff. We love their chicken wings. Go check them out if you're in downtown Kennesaw, Georgia. So we have one of your favorites, Brian, a classic from out west. We have a little Deschutes Black Butte Porter here from Iron Hill in memory as a tribute to the Eagles here. We have a little Philly favorite, Gymnastics Dippa, which is a collaboration beer from Cellar Maker and Trillium. And from Humble Forager, we're currently sipping this right now, Enchanted Island, Brian,
Yes.
which is a Hurricane Tiki Sour. And it's tart.
Yes.
The first sip I took of it was a good old punch there.
It's thick too.
Sour and thick. So good stuff. We're going to take a break. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show, and we will be right back. Boom.
I forgot about the beers of the week. I'm like,
that
what are
was
you?
easy. As long as I have a clean break
Yeah.
there, I can just chop it out.
Yeah.
It's not a
I
problem.
was like, what is he motioning for me for?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have a lot of time left. There's not enough time for
Yeah.
another story.
He's like, what do you want from me? What do
Yeah.
you want from me?
Yeah.
What do you want
I
from
really
me?
hope that there was supposed to be a lot more beer variety in terms of commercials this year. Not really. Not really.
Light.
Yeah,
Commercials in
yeah.
general weren't that great there.
I don't
got
think
a
there's a ton of money to be spent on Super Bowl commercials these days anyway. I mean, everything being what it is, it's challenging.
That's got a big tart. Big tart there. Mango? Is that it?
Yeah, mandarin. I get the mandarin, the passion fruit, mandarin, cherry,
I think the passion fruit is-
calamansi. I don't know what calamansi
Okay.
is, and onion.
Sounds
and
made
onion.
up. And onion.
And
Wow,
honey.
I don't get that, thankfully.
It's a sweet honey flavored onion. No,
Okay.
it's honey. I don't know.
All right.
Apparently, my brain is working like that, where I see words and say other
Just
words.
something else,
So
right?
that's happening. I get the mandarin, like a mandarin orange flavor in here.
When you
pretty good.
mentioned that, I
Yeah.
kind of saw the mandarin orange in there. Yeah.
and I
But I
think
think what I was saying is mango. I always like passion fruit, but I'm still not great at identifying that's what it is.
it's
in
got a
there.
little bit of a. I don't know how to put a finger exactly on it. Fruity, tart, floral thing. Yeah, it is kind of distinct, and together with mandarin,
It is a thick boy.
yeah, and I think it might be. I was thinking there might be lactose in this, but I think it may actually just be volume of puree, and I don't know however much unfermented honey might still be left in it.
What do we got, Nate? What do we got? Stephen, Pete, cheers, sir. Thanks for coming and hanging with us. Stephen, you should do a tiki themed beer if you haven't already. Have you done
Oh,
a
yeah.
tiki beer? I'm a big Brian. He saw some comments you had
He
there on the
did.
tap for the
I,
bear on the roof.
Bear on the roof. I opened
Yeah.
up a bottle I picked up a while back.
Good. Anxious for the Noda Cheerwine. If that is on the menu, talk with Chad at length. Yeah, I'm I'm curious to get that. We've got to get our
Yeah.
hands on some of that.
Need to work that out, make it
Yeah.
happen.
Well, I'm sure we can make it happen.
Yeah,
we can
probably
do that.
can.
So I was going to say, you got any North Carolina plans?
Yeah.
There?
All right.
So,
Head on up. I'm actually not sure if has it dropped already or they announced that it might be out now. I'm not sure. That's good. That's
this
good.
is good.
I think the
It's,
mandarin together with the passion fruit makes kind of it gives you a bit of a mango vibe.
But here's a question for you, Brian. If you're in the mood for beer, is this going to hit? Is this going to do it for you?
If I'd been drinking fruity, hazy IPAs, perhaps. But if I'm drinking Crispy Boys, no.
Right.
Yeah. Or
that's
like
what I'm thinking.
stouts
This is super tasty. This
It
is
is.
really good. But I think we've had the discussion before. But sometimes the flavors overwhelm it so much. Like you could just tell me this was a hard smoothie. I'd buy that. What's the base? Just a sour beer?
I think it just said sour. I could look on Untapped and see.
Just a sour, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm not it could be like a kettle sour, probably with something like this, because I don't think that there's a let me see.
Because like Brewing Project will do
Enchanted
some
Island.
heavily fruited sours, and they don't
Yeah.
even call them beers; they just call it a fermented malt beverage.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So even though it says sour, they may not just call it a beer.
all right. Yeah, good point.
It just says sour other. Yeah, even on
Sour
Untapped,
other.
there's no
Okay.
category here. Let's see.
Fair enough.
Tiki drink. Oh, maybe that's a different one. But anyway, yeah, there's no information on here. I'm assuming it's just a kettle sour type of thing.
Bang.
Cara orange, it says in here.
That's a big
Oh no, that's
big
different.
tart hit there.
Oh, I like this. They've got one in here that's a riff on a Mai Tai. That would be interesting. I had to keep an eye on that. I like what they're doing here, and the interest does not appear. If they're truly pulling this off with this kind of flavor without adding a bunch of lactose to it, I'm on board. I mean, when I'm in the mood for something like this, when I want something tiki drinkish, and this is, I believe it's 9% ABV.
But I'm not getting or anything. I don't get those.
I was thinking the
tones.
mouthfeel that like the sediment was
Yeah.
was part of it, but I don't think it is. And man, I'm on board with that. You can see the ABV on here. I think it's on the can. I think it's 9%.
Have a confession. I'm going to say this live here. You know this already, but I didn't drink any beer at all during Super Bowl.
Did you not?
Nope. I had I cocktailed it. I had sweet tea bourbon.
And you did have Borg.
I had some Borg.
We didn't mention that. We didn't mention that.
Yeah. I drank kind of light. I knew it was a school night, so I took it easy. But
I was an idiot. I
I
didn't
did.
go
Of
very
course,
light at
of
all.
course.
But that's in keeping with tradition.
yeah,
What did you think of Borg? You had some Borg.
it's fine.
You didn't have any Borg, did you? Did you have a
No.
little? Okay. Are you dry or not? That's that. What's even happening? here?
Moist.
I don't know if I'm dry.
Moist.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so Borg, in case y'all missed it last week, is a jug of water where you empty enough out to pour like a fifth of vodka in
Yeah.
there and then add Mio. I think they just call it water enhancer, but it's the flavored water. It's like the Kool-Aid drops, essentially.
Yeah,
is
we
what
got it
is.
right here. Yeah, fruit. I put fruit punch in there, and apparently it is not the preferred flavoring.
It tastes fake. It tastes very
Yeah.
artificial, but
But
considering what it was, I think what it delivered is exactly what I would have expected from it. And I think if I was a college kid who was just looking to get turned up,
yeah,
that's exactly what I'd want.
I believe we calculated the final ABV to be around
10 to
10%,
13.
10 to
That's kinda where
13%,
we
kind
figured
of kind of on the lighter wine side, perhaps. So it's
Yeah.
if you drink an entire gallon of it, if you're actually drinking it from the gallon like a kid would do,
Which I think is the goal for those
Yeah.
that actually do Borg
yeah,
as a thing. We did it because we're stupid.
yeah, we
Or
poured
you're
it.
stupid.
We poured it into snifters.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
We poured it into snifters, which is exactly the way middle-aged men ruin things. We did
Yeah.
it the wrong way. So we took
We did
took
it
the
the-
cool thing kids are doing and we screwed it all up. So
Greetings, fellow
you're
kids.
all welcome. Yes, greetings, fellow kids.
Yeah. We'll try it. We'll try it. The silliness.
I didn't
is-
hate it. I
is
didn't
fun.
hate it. I thought it was
I didn't hate
fun.
it.
and
It's
di-
not.
Oh,
But here's the thing: is that yes, we do still have it in the
Still
fridge.
in
Yeah.
the fridge, yeah.
But the thing is, it is literally never anything that I would think, man, I really want some Borg,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh, hey, we could have it on the show again next week, and I haven't thought about it since.
Now,
So
if we take some like a decent rum, a decent white rum,
okay,
put like some pineapple and cherries and oranges and that in there, and then pour in some vodka to alcohol it up, I'd be okay with that. Highfalutin Borg, Brian.
so I wanted to do Havana Club rum
Uh-huh.
with in the place of vodka, but it had to be Havana Club and the Puerto Rican one that's available here, and I was going to call it Cuban Emborgo because it's
Now,
that's the whole
dude,
reason I want to do it. But I bet it would be good.
We get a Havana Club, but it is not the Havana Club, correct?
Yes, and I happen to remember looking through when I was trying to piece things together for the weekend, I went to the rum section and I did see it. And I'm like, oh, that's right. We do get a Havana Club. And I'm like, I think it says on the
Dominican?
bottom, Puerto Rico, I think.
Puerto Rican.
I-
Okay.
Believe so. Believe it was
Yeah.
Puerto Rican. So
Because I know we get Monte Cristos and we get
Yeah.
Cohibas here in the
Yeah.
States, but neither one
All
of them
Dominican.
are the actual. So we could have a total bootleg party, Brian. Cohibas and Monte Cristos.
yeah, we could have an embargo party.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything that's just that has the same name as a Cuban product, but isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had the Cuban Havana Club?
I have. Yeah.
I don't know if I've had the
It's not great.
Legendario.
Oh, the Legendario rum. That's
Which
a
is
rum
nice.
punch,
The rum
that's
punch, yeah.
amazing. That's fantastic. The Havana Club that I've had was all right. I'm not a huge rum person. I didn't think it was
Okay.
worth the hassle of
I like
getting.
good
but
rum, but I
yeah.
just think there's not a ton of good rum.
I would
Out-
rather have Zacapaz or Zaya than the Cuban Havana Club.
Now, I bet there's also different grades
There are.
of Havana Club. So
I think I
maybe they
had
have a
the cheapest one, and I think I had the
Supremo
one
Grande.
up, and
Okay.
I thought both.
neither
were
one
kinda-
of them, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I thought
fair
they were
enough.
both kind of whatever.
Fair enough, man.
Yep. In my travels, it was neat to try, but it was like having tried it, I'm like, is the embargo outdated? Perhaps. Do I care that much about the actual products? Nah, not really. Not really.
There's a few that I like, man. Like I do.
The Legendario rum punch is awesome, and I
Monty
wish we
number
could-
twos.
Yeah, Monty number twos are very
Be
good.
Ras.
Yeah,
I haven't had a Ras in a long time.
was it
Ramon
Ramon
Iones special
Iones?
selection. I
Number
think.
4. Ras, is it number 4?
I think it's just a Ras. I think
Oh,
that's the
Partagas
size.
Serie D number 4 is
Yeah,
the other really good
PSD
one.
4.
Kawabas are Cohibas have actually been pretty good. The
Yeah.
Kawabas are great because they're less likely to be fake because
Yeah.
they're all figurado, so they're harder to roll.
Yep.
So there's more of a barrier to making them. So there's no reason for most people to fake a Kawaba. So Kawabas are usually good and usually legit.
Well, like
usually.
speaking of the Cohibas, I did that a box split with a friend of ours named Tim, goes by Woo Bears, of the Bahikis. I think I gave you one of those.
You
Didn't
did,
I?
yeah, it was really
Yeah,
good.
so
Bahikis.
those were good, but the cost of admission, I think we got a 10-pack, and it was $500. So those are $50 per cigar for that.
And that's pre-modern inflation.
Yes.
So I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
that those are probably anywhere from $60 to $70
Sure.
now, a stick.
Good
which
cigar,
is-
but it was but I just sat there and literally burnt $50.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you smoke it over the course, like if it was a Robusto size, you smoke it over the course of an hour and 15, hour and a half, depending on how fast you go, you could drink through a bottle of expensive stuff like wine.
You
In
could
that
add-
time,
yeah.
you could drink a $50 bottle of wine, and theoretically, people say you have the same level of enjoyment if you're a fan of the one versus the fan of the other. I think it's too expensive. I won't do it. But
What is your, speaking of cigars, Brian? So it's been a while since I've been into cigars, but when I was into them, it seemed like that $10 price point was about the break point. You could find a lot of good cigars around $10, but this was back when like Liga Privada number 9s were in like the $10 to $12 price range.
oh yeah,
And I've seen those like 17, 18.
yeah, they're
and that more,
closing
so
in on 20.
Where
now.
are we now? What is like the good entry point for a single cigar?
I think that you can still. I'm not following it as closely as I once did. You can still find stuff in the, if you know where to look, in the $8 to $10 range. It's getting harder. Like the name brand stuff that people really are after, they're going up in price. I think for good new stuff that's got some hype, got some interest, got some quality tobacco, you're starting to look at $12 probably in that range. And like you said, the Drew Estates,
The premiums have
Liga
gone up.
Privada on all those. Those are,
Yeah.
I think, at the smallest size. Last I looked, they were somewhere but $14 or $15 for the very smallest, the Robusto size, and on up. I think that the largest might have crossed over 20.
Yeah.
And your Padrones have always been going up. I think the 1000 series, which is another good barometer of it, I think those might be nearly $10 now each. So
See,
I'm not
those
sure.
were 6 to 8.
Yeah, I think
back then, but
everything's going up, man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's price increases everywhere. I honestly, I get into a cigar shop infrequently enough that I can't really gauge it too well anymore. I see a lot of online like email ads about specials on things. So a lot of times when I'm buying cigars, I buy a special, or I still occasionally enter an auction on something that I'm interested in. So
cigar bits, huh?
Yeah. I think
It's been a long time since I played around on there.
I think I ordered some Avo Nicaraguans recently because I haven't had those in a while. I like them, and if you buy Avos, they're pricey, but those I got a pretty good deal on them. So
when I used to go to Cigar Bits, which is it for those that don't know, it's essentially eBay for cigars. I'd place a ridiculous bid. Like this is a $150 box. I'd bid 30, 50.
Oh yeah.
And I may have 10 bids out. And if I don't win, I didn't care. But if I did win, I got a heck of a deal, and so probably maybe once a month, seriously, I'd hit a deal like that, but it was just a still. I'm like, oh, cool. Sweet.
I think the one I picked up, I was watching, it was they started up this thing where it free falls, the money comes down.
All right.
It drops and drops and drops. If you watch it for a while, it drops a certain level, resets. So I just waited for it to drop to the low point, hit the buy now thing, and you immediately buy it. So there's no auction involved. It's a timing thing. So I got it, something that started off in the 140 range. I got it for high 80s.
Cigar gambling, huh?
Yeah, basically. But I mean, the cool thing is now I'll have a bunch of interesting cigars to smoke here in a minute. So
there you go.
Yeah, be pretty neat.
It's a win-win. So many wins. Tyler, cheers, man. Thanks for stopping in.
Hey.
Hopefully things are good there in Texas. Texas should do a Whataburger collab beer. Or
make it with actual.
Oh, the Buc-ee's little nuggets.
Yeah.
They could probably do that.
Put that guy
there
on
you
the
go. Represent
put that guy on
there.
the front of the can. They will sell out. They'll sell as many of those as they can make.
Oh, they would. Yeah. People would be all
Buc-ee's.
People who didn't drink beer would go get Buc-ee's beer.
Seriously, Buc-ee's just needs to partner with somebody to make a lager and just keep it in their
Buc-ee's
store,
lager.
and they'll just sell the hell out of those. Just sell and sell.
Do a party pack with some of their beef jerky, maybe a brisket sandwich.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. The Buc-ee's brisket bundle.
The Buc-ee's brisket bundle. Yes.
Buc-ee's beer and brisket bundle.
Heck yeah.
Say that 5 times fast.
No.
Okay. All right.
How about no?
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on the Podcast Park and all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to the show.
Brian, another big holiday is coming up, another drinking holiday.
It is, yes.
And very soon it is going to be Fat Tuesday. Mardi Gras.
My favorite Tuesday.
The favorite Tuesday. But that's coming up on the 21st. It will be Fat Tuesday there. So
yes.
And king cakes are out. And I believe that some folks have got some suggestions that if you're eating king cake, what beer to pair up with it, right?
Yes, they do. It's not as much information as you'd expect, but king cakes are something I didn't even know about until I moved into the South. Never heard of them when I was in the Northwest. Yeah. So there are a variety of king cakes. Are you aware of this, Tim?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I didn't know this. There's like a chocolate one and cream cheese one and a bunch of other stuff.
So the standard one is like kind of the cakey pastry with the colored icings on it.
Yeah.
And then just like crystallized sugar. And something they've changed since I was a young lad. I lived in Mississippi as a young, and we were close enough to Louisiana that, Mardi Gras was a big thing there. They did the king cakes and all that. But they used to put the baby in the cake. And I don't know places that still do that. Around here, they don't. You'll get in a little packet on the side or something like that. But back then, man, that plastic baby was baked into the cake.
Do they have a little pocket in the cake for you to stuff the baby in yourself?
No, I don't know. I don't know what they do with it now, but they're not coming in there. I guess maybe liabilities in that. They didn't want a chunk of plastic stuffed in a cake.
I think that they banned some Kinder chocolates from Germany because they used to put little babies inside the chocolates.
Little things, they're choking hazards.
So anyway, there's a bunch of them. Brioche dough versus puff pastry, and I think you brioche sounds better to me, I think, than puff pastry. But anyway. So in terms of possible beer pairings, one I saw that was recommended very strongly is a Abita strawberry or any other kind of fruit beer on the lighter side, possibly raspberry or cherry. The review I read of somebody who tried that said this was a great pairing together. So
I could see that.
Yeah,
Sure.
seems reasonable. Parish Canebrake came up a few times. That's a wheat ale from Louisiana. Let's see, a crisp lager of any variety, especially when you're dealing with the lighter king cakes, like the cream cheese ones that aren't really heavy, not one of the chocolate ones, but maybe one of the lighter flavored ones. That's a good call. If you're going with a chocolate king cake, a coffee stout's a good idea, because I think coffee, maybe like a coffee blonde or a coffee lager would be good with these, because if I'm going to eat a dessert like that, I kind of want some coffee to go with it.
Not around anymore, Brian, and not Louisiana, but Boulevard's Coffee Ale that used to exist.
Oh, yeah.
Is a fantastic pairing with pastries.
That is right.
That would go really well with it.
That would be amazing. They need to bring that back. There's also the possibility of Belgian double, triple, or golden being a good combination, or maybe a brown ale. Of course, there are a lot of king cake beers on the market, so you could probably pair a king cake beer with a king cake, depending on the variety. There's a few that I'm aware of. Oscar Blues, Death by King Cake. Highwire does a king cake 10W40 beer. Pipeworks does a king cake beer. And our friends at Neutral Ground also do.
They do.
A king
our
cake
buddy
beer.
Stan, who we have
sprinkles and everything on.
We have brewed with in a tornado.
Yes, that's right. We have,
before. But yeah, so they do one down there. He says it's a big seller when it's on tap there. And they do theirs year round. They don't just wait for Mardi Gras. So Neutral Ground with Stan is from Texas.
Indeed.
And his partner from Louisiana. So yeah, they embrace that.
They got that legit. They got that Louisiana side legit. Yeah, that's fun. I like that they have a rim on it, a king cake rim. So I'd try the two together. We did not, because when we had them on, we didn't have king cake ready, but we had the beer. So and that was fun. So that's what you're looking at. You don't want to go too big, too heavy, or too bold with your beers when you're pairing it with king cake, because you want the king cake flavors to come through.
We should go in and see if we have time. Probably, I mean, it would be late, I'm sure, but we should order us one from one of the Louisiana bakeries that does them upright, because I think I've heard there's a couple places in the Atlanta area that do a pretty good king cake, but like Publix usually offers them. They're acceptable, Brian. They're acceptable. I don't know that they're the best, but they're acceptable.
It's a grocery store. So, I mean, I kind of figure almost any pastry you're getting out of a grocery store that's, the store brand version of it, I kind of expect it to be acceptable, but not the best.
Some of them are good. Some of the stuff they nail is pretty good.
Now, if it were a sandwich coming from Publix, I would expect top notch for
the
that.
Pub side,
but
man. We know
because they do quality
stuff
there, but everything. This is what happens if you don't think ahead and order it.
Have you tried many of these king cake beers?
I've had the Neutral Ground one. That was good. It was light. It was good. And I think it would be ideal for pairing with a king cake, because it wasn't super heavy, super sweet, or anything like that. I believe I've had Death by King Cake, and I thought that was always also all right. But
okay.
Yeah. The other ones, I would definitely try the King Cake 10W40. I think that's more likely to be a stout. Maybe had something you have on your own, and probably heavy on the lactose, because that 10W40
it's a big
beer theme has, like, it's a heavy stout typically, and I think they have lactose in them too. But those have all been really good. That might be the best one of the three or the four or two that I mentioned to have on its own. So as opposed to
all by itself.
Yeah,
Brian.
all by itself.
Absolutely.
It stands alone. Probably.
We'll have to see, man. We'll have to see what we can do with that for sure.
Indeed, we will. So, Tim.
Yes, Brian.
Let's talk about a virtual reality.
Tell me.
Yeah. So North Coast Brewing's coming out with a virtual reality beer tasting. And it's a guided beer tasting led by the brewmaster, Chuck Martins. The kit includes 4 12-ounce beers, Scrumshaw Porter, Prankster Belgian Golden, Pacific Magic IPA, which is a new beer from them, and Old Rasputin Russian Imperial Stout, 4 custom coasters, and access to their MetaQuest 2 app. So you need to have the virtual reality goggles to do this. When you do the experience, apparently it includes a VR flyover of the Fort Bragg coastline and a visit to their Fortune Farm, which I didn't read into, but apparently has something to do with sustainability and I think carbon neutrality. So there's a whole thing involved in that. And they're very proud of it. So this is currently only available in California, unfortunately. But what do you think about virtual reality beer tastings? This is a good idea.
I need some clarification.
Or a dumb idea.
I need some clarification. Right. So is this something that you like go to the brewery and do this, or you do it in the comfort of your own home?
So people in California can order the sets and it's sent to them, and they need to have the headsets, and they can do it themselves at home.
So if you get the beers on your own, can I do it from Georgia? Can I still get into these? Why would they limit? And I may be going too deep here.
You might
be questions, Brian, but is there a reason they have it limited to California other than the availability of sending out the beers?
I think it's a matter of the set, because I'm not sure about the availability of the Pacific Magic IPA. I believe it's a newer beer, and I haven't seen that around. I'm not sure if that hits distribution outside of California, but I think it's a package deal. I wonder about that too. I don't see a reason why you couldn't get 3 of the 4 beers and sit in on the virtual reality experience and just, I don't know, sip water while they're talking about the 4th beer you don't have.
Sure.
I don't know. I didn't see any kind of explanation as to why, but they're rolling out the kit itself just to California.
Okay. My thoughts on it. It would be fine. I think it's gimmicky, but I think that's the intention of it there. I'm not sure the appeal to me, the VR flyover. Now viewing their farm, if I'm not able to actually physically get out there to the farm, may be kind of cool. But everybody's trying to get AI and VR and stuff into it, but don't use Bing AI because it's already just it's losing its mind already.
The Bing AI is going over the Fort Bragg cliff on the coast.
It is. Would be cool, I guess. Yeah, generally cool. I'm not losing my mind over it. What do you think of it, Brian?
I like the idea. I like the idea of if you'd like to, and I think you're right about it being all tied into this. I'd like a tasting where you could go into an app and say, hey, I'm drinking this. I want to have a little mini tasting with the guy who brewed it. I'd like to sit through that. I like the idea of like a brewery tour in VR, because I've used VR to go on maps to go look at breweries in countries and states I can't get to, but there's no tour. You're relying on what's on the street view and what people have taken pictures of in like a 360 with a 360 camera. And that's okay, but it would be cool if I could go to Cantillon with my VR headset and actually walk around and look at everything as per whenever they took the camera footage.
Agree.
You can't really
I think that's the thing with this is I think it'd be neat, but if I'm drinking their Old Rasputin and I'm sitting there with Old Rasputin telling me about the beer, that would be cool.
Oh, that would be even better. Yeah.
So, you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take a break, but we will be right back. See, my thinking is like the 19 Crimes kind of stuff, where you scan the bottles and the criminals tell you their story.
Oh, that's cool.
Scan the Scrimshaw Pilsner and give me an old. I'm sitting on the deck of an 1850s whaling vessel with a scraggled sailor next to me with a pipe in his mouth and the hat. I don't even need to tell you the hat.
The hat, of course, the hat.
And he's sitting there. In his other hand, he's scrimshawing a pocket knife and telling me about the beer. I'm in. North Coast, if you're listening, we have V2.0 all figured out for you.
Yeah, I mean, having both available is a good idea because there are people that are going to be curious about the beer specs itself from the brewer, the brewing process. But having the salty old sea captain tell you about it, it's a Scrimshaw porter.
Have someone in front spraying me with a water, like a Windex bottle that's got water in it.
Well, they'll probably get that built into the headset where it'll just mist you as you're watching.
That's it. Yeah. That is it.
Yeah, that would be great. I hadn't thought about that.
After you go through the whole 4 beers, the video starts to blur a little bit. So
Yes, I was thinking of the guy at the in Airplane where he's flying the jet, where his water's streaming down to a point where it looks like somebody dumped a bucket on his head.
Yep.
That'd be great. That would be great. Let's see. What do we got here?
Bourbon scandal.
Oh yeah, we got the bourbon scandal. Do that.
Scandalous.
So we got that. All right.
Fruit clouds.
Did we talk about the Oregon Brewers Festival? I couldn't remember if we have it.
We did. Yeah, I thought you were talking about the Oregon bourbon scandal.
Oh
yes,
no,
we did.
I've got both. I've got both, but I didn't remember if we'd done.
I think I may have just been mentioned casually. Do you have more info on that?
Not so much. I think if we did mention it casually, we probably went over all of it. So
All right.
I'm looking at all the material we have left to see where we're going with
So
stuff.
the Philly Favorite is a good beer, Brian.
Oh, I need to get some.
The
of that.
Philly Favorite is a good beer. It's just not my preferred profile.
I wasn't paying attention, and I did not realize you did not beer at all on over the Super Bowl.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah,
How
I
about
did
that?
see you get into the cocktails, but
Yeah.
I was drinking beer. I just assumed everybody was.
Yep.
But hell, most of the people that were here may not have even touched it. I don't know. We did go through a few, so somebody had some.
Yeah. I think Nate was drinking pretty decent. Nate and Nathan.
Yeah.
Smalls and Orion.
Yes,
dipping.
definitely. Yeah, they both were. They both
Uh-huh.
were. And I know Nathan was. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention too closely to Nate. I guess maybe he was indulging completely and just pretending he wasn't dry
Just
for
in
the
his
period of
zone,
time.
man.
Yeah.
Just in his own.
Indeed. Let's see. So, oh yeah, we didn't talk about the Cheerwine collab either, did we? Not really. Did we?
Did we mention it? We
we
mentioned
kinda
it
did.
before we got on, didn't we? Did we talk about it?
I think we kind of
Because when I saw the note on it, I'm like, wait a minute, did we already talk about that? Nate's got notes. Nate, did we talk about Cheerwine in the show, or was that before?
Was that the stream or was that actually in the show?
Today.
Yeah.
Yeah, today.
It was in the show.
It was in the show.
it
Okay, it
All
was in
right,
the show.
thought so.
You know what? That's always my challenge. I'm like, wait a minute, we're streaming and we're recording
Yeah,
the
that's
show
the
at the
one
same
tough
time.
thing when we ramble between segments is it's like,
Yeah,
where
we did
was
during
it?
segment
Where was it? Okay.
one. It was after Super Bowl time.
Yeah.
Super Bowl Cheerwine.
Did we talk about the Dogfish Head Super Bowl ad in the stream, or was that before the stream? Because I know we didn't talk
I
about it
think
in
we
the
talked
show.
about that before we went live at all.
Yeah.
I think
don't
you and I
we brought
talked
that
about
up
it.
during segment
Yeah. Anyway, that
Yeah.
for people who are watching who didn't see it, you didn't see it
But
for a
we've
reason.
already covered the Super
Oh.
Bowl commercial part.
Oh yeah, but we're okay.
I
But
mean,
we're
you
still
can-
streaming right now.
You can. Oh yeah, we can talk about it. Sure, we can talk about it right now.
I
if
was
you
just going to
want
mention it since I asked about it. So for those who didn't see that Dogfish Head ad,
Yes.
it's because it was only you're not living in Delaware. That's why you didn't see
Oh, it
it.
was only $1. Okay.
Yeah, I
All
think it was a one state only type of thing, and that probably saved them a good chunk of cheddar. But
yeah.
featured the vibrating football game from the 1970s. Is that 70s or is that
That's,
60s?
80s maybe.
Is it
Maybe
80s?
Early 80s?
Is it early
Late
80s?
70s, early 80s?
That sounds about right. I remember seeing them when I was a kid. I never owned one. and
But that is how Dogfish Head, when they first started, that's how they continuously hopped their beers. He loaded the he rigged one of those to shake a basket of hops.
shake
to
hops
just keep
it
hops going
slowly
into the beer.
into the kettle the entire
Yeah.
time it was boiling. So innovation.
And the original one, Brian.
Yes.
Do you know where it is?
Smithsonian,
It is.
along with
Indeed it
Charlie
is.
Papazian's mash
Mash
paddle, I
paddle.
believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And probably a few other things that I don't remember, but those are the two things I do
Yeah.
remember that are there.
They've got a brewing. I know a few years ago they hired someone as like the curator, I guess, of the
Oh yeah, we
American beer history kind of thing.
we had a story about that.
We did.
Didn't we? Yeah, I don't recall. That was pre-pandemic too, wasn't that?
It was.
Yeah, I thought so.
It was.
I don't even remember anything about that life.
I know.
It all sounds like a fairy
Nothing
tale.
before 2020 happened.
Yeah.
Actually, things did happen before 2020.
I don't believe
like
it. At
I was
all.
thinking today, some of the early 80s rock got on my mind. Some of your favorite songs, probably, Nate, like Van Halen's Jump. Yeah. And so I get confused if it's Airplane, Jefferson Airplane, Starship, or Jefferson Starship, because I think all four of those are the same group.
I want to say yes, but it's
Yeah.
not something I've really concerned myself with in many, many years.
But the classic, We Built This City.
yes,
We
yes,
Built This City on rock. Quiet Riot. Come
Sure.
On, Feel the Noise.
Indeed.
And I'll let you know when I tell Siri to play Come On, Feel the Noise by Quiet Riot, she beeps out the come part due to the way they spell it in the name of the song.
Oh,
She's like, now
yeah.
playing Deet, Feel the Noise by Quiet Riot. I was like, oh, okay, right.
That's
right.
a dirty word.
Yeah.
Those rock musicians from the 80s going straight to hell. They all are.
All of them.
All of them devil worshippers
Yep.
with their naughty language.
They had the shit. Well, there was shout at the devil. I don't even know the context of that. Was it positive or negative?
I
Were
don't
they
know.
angry at the devil, or were they like trying to get his attention?
I think they're just
Could be either way.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to get
Shout
his
at the
attention
devil.
because he was partying. They like, get out. Like, hey,
That's it.
Out.
Hey, shout.
yeah. So it
Shout.
could be both.
Shout at the devil. Yeah, I don't remember.
Indeed.
But back there in the prehistoric times, Nate, we had Quiet Riot, we had Motley Crue, and we had Rat, and we had Guns N' Roses, and we had Journey, we had Van Halen, and we had Starship Jefferson, Starship Airplane, Jefferson Airplane.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the full name. It's hard to fit that on a cassette spine.
It's just wrapped around and
Just
around and around.
keep on printing.
Just keep going with that name.
Arial 4 was the font.
I was, yeah, Ariel. It's like they have Comic Sans back then, or was that an
Better than
invention of
Comic
the
Sans.
90s?
I think that did come out in the 90s and was immediately hated.
Oh, yeah. That was I think that was the first font everybody who had any kind of like paint shop or paint application used.
Everybody used Comic
yeah.
Sans.
Comic Sans, what
Yeah.
a great, it's
Yeah.
comical. Look at
It's
the
so
font.
Fun.
Yeah. I remember, again, prehistoric times, Nate. So when you first got like word processors on your computer, do you remember, Brian, when doing banners on dot matrix printers was like the thing? And like you'd have a party and it'd be like Super Bowl party 2021, and it'd be 6 pages of this, or you could do a
It's just
poster
like dot
where you
matrix.
had to put them together in a mosaic. But you could do, I think they call it word art now or font effects, but because the letters were so big, the letters could be polka dot or maybe they were striped. And even at one time, a big move that showed what a baller you were was adding shadow to the
Oh
text.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some highfalutin stuff. I just remember that not the pages, the paper didn't always have. They had the little holes in the side so the wheel could feed
Tractor
it.
feed, yeah.
And sometimes that was perforated, and sometimes it wasn't. So sometimes you had to put up your banner with the perforation.
Oh, that's
on it.
right. Sometimes every now and then you could just fold it and
And
rip it
you
off.
rip it
but
off, and then
sometimes
it
was
like,
just a
oh,
solid
look how
sheet.
clean that looks,
Yeah.
except for that little place where you tore it, taking off the
Yeah.
the feet.
And then the thermal printers and fax machines, it was just a big roll,
yeah.
and you kind of tore your page off like a paper towel in the restroom where you crank it down and then rip it across
Yeah.
a blade.
And the thermal stuff, I think, always fades with time, or if it gets too warm,
Or
it
heat.
all turns
Yeah.
black or whatever. So those were fun. I've had some of the thermal receipts I put in my pocket on a hot day, pull it
Done.
out, and it's like, well, that's useless.
Yeah.
That's
They
nobody's
also
gonna know
had
what
an
that's
issue
about.
where I think it was Ticketmaster at one time, back when you had Nate, more prehistoric times, you used to have to go places to get your tickets to concerts.
Really?
And they would print them for you there. And do you remember, Brian? I'm trying to see, because Brian and I have just enough years separating us that certain things he didn't know. But do you remember when certain places had a Ticketmaster outlet and the tickets came printed? Like there was this thing, there was a metal plate that we'd mount on a countertop. And when you'd order tickets, it was actually a roll of like tickets, like Ticketmaster tickets. And you'd be like 2 for Van Halen, and they'd click, 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 and the thing would chunk, like print them out from the countertop.
Did they have to slide like the little metal letters in place to get the right
No,
thing?
no, no.
Okay.
I'm assuming it was just, I don't know really how exactly they, I think it was just tech. Brian, maybe they did that before you got there to make your ticket purchase. But instead of waiting in online queues you'd go line up at like it would be a record store, grocery stores had them. And a lot of times for big concerts, to avoid people lining up for days in advance, because people would wait for literal days for some of this, they would come out and give like the first 50 people in line would get tickets, or they'd randomly give out tickets. And then it was like a lottery draw. So it discouraged people from camping. It just ended up becoming the luck of the draw there.
Yeah, it became an issue for the place selling them. I know that I never bought. I'm trying to think if I ever bought any ticket. I never went to a counter for Ticketmaster. I never went to a counter for Ticketmaster. I think I bought all of my tickets either in person or online. But I do remember there being a counter in I think like Fred Meyer back in Portland where you could go get your tickets, and it was kind of one of those things like that seems like a nuisance. I'm like, and most of the places I could just go
do it at the time.
Well, a lot of the bands I liked, they were on the alternative station, and I could go to one of many venues around the city and go for $10 and go, oh, the band's playing there. Let's go watch them there. It's like I watch a lot of music for under $20 to get in. Some of it I did buy online eventually, but a lot of it just walk up and pay the cover charge to get in. And that's how I did a lot of that.
I saw Faith No More in Memphis at a club called 616. And if I remember correctly, I paid $7 for the ticket. And it was like the year before they hit it big with, was it The Real Thing? Was that their?
I think so.
Yeah. So I caught them like a year before, because if anybody knows Faith No, was the guy's name Mike Powell, the lead singer? Does that sound right?
But
if anybody knows Faith No More before The Real Thing got a big, like early Faith No More, it is totally different. It sounds like a different group altogether. The style, the singing, everything. So
I think I've listened to a little bit. I knew Faith No More a little bit from like one or two of their songs, but I didn't follow them. I didn't go see them and follow them the way apparently you did. So
yeah,
did not know.
I like the early stuff.
The material as well.
Back in the 80s, Brian.
Indeed.
All right, shall we jump on back in here?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to our newest radio affiliate, WOMI 1490 AM in Owensboro, Kentucky. Catch Beer Guys Radio and WOMI every Saturday at 3 p.m. Let's get back to the show.
Brian, there's so much drama in the craft beer world. There's unions, and not just craft beer, bourbon scandals too.
Yeah, indeed.
Got this stuff going on. But we'd mentioned recently about Georgia, the brewers at Creature Comforts looking to form the Brewers Union of Georgia, BUG. But it looks like they're not the only ones with that in mind, right?
Yeah, that is correct. I think this is something I'm seeing mentioned a lot on social media, especially in reference to breweries. So I think that there's something happening here. I don't know if there's kind of the unions are getting behind, are organizing to get this into breweries, because, the funny thing we all hear about, or kind of the running joke is that people come in and they work for the brewery, work late, and their bonus is, well, we'll order some pizzas and give you some low fill beers. And so that doesn't fly as much anymore.
Can't pay rent with that.
Yeah. Especially now where things are a little tighter, stuff's more expensive. It's not working. So, but the workers at Widmer Brothers Brewing are joining the Teamsters. They have 54 new Teamsters members. They formed the union because they weren't getting as paid as other AB InBev owned unionized breweries. So they saw what everybody else is getting paid that's owned by AB InBev and said, we're getting paid peanuts compared to these guys. So they cite other issues like workplace safety, scheduling issues, and healthcare plan issues. I think that their healthcare plans just aren't great. So Widmer being out of I believe that's Oregon. Is that Southern Washington? I believe that's Oregon, Widmer. So there you go. That's more union activity happening. This just happened, I believe this was announced this week. So
Brian, do you have any information on how the owners of Widmer reacted to it?
I didn't see. I didn't
Okay.
see anything about that. I
was
assumed
curious if there was a voluntary recognition, as I know that they tried to get with Creature Comforts, but
I didn't see a scandal like that. My assumption is that. Well, I don't know if I can fairly assume that. I'm not an
probably
expert.
can't.
This work, but they announced that they were members of it. So I think at this point, there could be an issue with them looking for recognition. It wasn't mentioned though. It was just kind of a matter of fact, like this is done, this is over with, and this is the Teamsters. So I'm not sure if Widmer is willing to go up against the Teamsters.
Yeah,
not like new guys on the block.
We've done this before.
Yeah,
we've buried bodies,
and this union covers a lot of things. Apparently, the beverage business, including beer, is involved. So there may be other Teamsters unions in breweries already that I'm unaware of. But this particular local chapter covers a wide swath of industry.
Do you know if the Teamsters union the other AB InBev owned breweries? Is that the unions that they fall under?
I don't know that.
Okay,
no. If it is, they're probably different chapters, but. You know what? That's a good question. I don't know.
Thanks for all the info. I do appreciate it.
My apologies. I didn't dig deep into it.
You know what though? Interesting here. Brian, you and I have talked. I am not just carte blanche in favor of unions. I think there are certain situations to where a union can be the best result, and probably the employees know the best. But I think some people are just yes union, no matter what. There's some people that are just pro union. But if you're part of a large corporation like that and all the other companies are getting X dollars and you're getting less, I get it. If you can't go up and, negotiate to get that, if you're facing that, I get why they would want to unionize there.
So them being owned by AB InBev, I was thinking about it in terms of them being owned by, the Widmer brothers, but Widmer brothers is an AB InBev property. I don't think that they're going to run afoul of breweries. It's a bad look for them. They've got a lot of money behind them. I assume that since they own other union properties, that this was just accepted, and maybe it was implied by it not being mentioned because, man, that would look really bad.
Right.
They don't want the bad press.
But also, I think we get into kind of messy territory there if we should expect every brewery to have the same wage standards, so to speak, where the brewery's located, and that all of this stuff plays into it, But on the flip side of that coin, like look at something like Johnson & Johnson. They own tons of companies, from home, like medical supplies and all this stuff, cleaning supplies, all of this. You can't expect that wages are going to be standardized across every single one of their companies. But I also think that a handful of breweries owned by one big brewery is a little different story there.
I wish I'd looked in to see if one of the breweries that's unionized now is Goose Island. I think they might be. And I think the cost of living between Portland and Chicago is a little bit different. So I could see there being a difference in the compensation rates, like you're saying. They may not be getting paid as well. And now it may be horrible. I didn't look in. There's no information about who's getting paid what at all that I can get to. So maybe a huge discrepancy between who's getting paid what. But if it's a issue of cost of living differences, I could see why they might get paid more in Chicago. It's a more expensive place to live. Having lived in Portland, unless you're living downtown Portland, which is a little spendy, but having lived in Portland, if you're outside of it at all, you can live pretty frugally if you'd want to. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And just because I think it ties in, we were talking about the Georgia unions and that. A teaser for some news that we will have more news on next week, Brian. Beer bill dropped in Georgia for our brewers. And we haven't had a chance to review the bill and get all the details together. But we're going for self-distro here, for some limited self-distribution. We're trying to get our brewers to get the right to be able to make charitable donations to nonprofits directly. Right now, they have to kind of go through a distributor. There is some verbiage in there to allow breweries to sell beer from other breweries. Because right now, Georgia has two licenses that you can brew under. There's a brewery and a brew pub. Brew pub is technically a retailer by the letter of the law with a special permit to brew. Since they're classified as a retailer, they can sell beer from anyone.
Yeah.
But a brewery can only sell their product. So right now you can't go into a big brewery in Georgia and they can't do a collab with their friend on the other side of town and sell it in their tap room. That's illegal. So they're trying to work that out.
Whoever brews it has to be the one
whoever
sells
brews it is the one that sells it.
It's unfortunate.
they're working to change some of those things. The self-distribution, for one thing, Brian, 5 years ago, well, I was going to say it would probably be a showstopper, but the distributor said directly that was a showstopper. It just wouldn't happen. But the climate in Georgia has changed over the last 5 years. We have, I think, nearly triple the breweries we did in like 2016. And we're getting to the point where we have some smaller breweries there where, in all honesty, it's not in a distributor's best interest to pick up one of those accounts for those limited amounts. And it would actually be good for them if there will be controls. If this passes, there will be controls in there on how much and what can be distributed. But it could be a win-win. The timing may be right.
I think in the particular cases, some breweries that are intentionally not going to grow to a point where they'll ever go into distribution.
Absolutely.
But if they could distribute, they might on a limited basis. And like you said, there's no reason for a distributor to get involved in that. It's a waste of their time. So it makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, those breweries are just going to be held back. That's a sale they could make that they're just not going to be able to.
And we could have something here right now where a very small brewery, and we have a handful of extremely small breweries here, where let's say they wanted to work with their friends at the pub down the street and do an event or something like that, or they wanted to brew a special beer for them. If they did a small batch, let's say they run a pilot batch of a barrel, and they get a handful of kegs out of it, that still has to go through a distributor right now.
Yep.
But if they had a small amount, hey, you know what? Joe and Schmo's Brew Pub or Joe and Schmo's Bar and Grill down is having their 5th anniversary. They've been a great customer to us. Let's do a special beer. Let's get a couple special beers for them there.
And they do have something in there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you mentioned this. I didn't see the text of it, that they would lift a cap on what you could sell to consumers in a day,
They're
allowing them to sell a keg, right?
Yes, they are trying to lift that as well, because right now it's capped for on-site sales to a consumer for to go is capped at 288 ounces. So basically a case of beer. So right now you still cannot go to a brewery in Georgia and buy like a 6-tal keg of beer, half barrel or whatever. Can't do it. It's illegal.
And that people that argue against that don't realize that people will do this for special events, weddings, parties, whatever else, like things that are unusual. It's not unusual to need a keg of beer for something.
It is not.
Without anybody thinking that you're going to sit there and just polish off the whole
just
keg
pound
yourself.
a keg of beer.
I might, but most people won't.
Most people would not. We're going to take a break right now so Brian can pound a keg. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show, and we'll be right back. You're lip syncing to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Lip syncing. Dry County was smart. I think Dry County had little kegs, didn't they?
2-gallon kegs.
2-gallon kegs. Like they figured out a way around it. So you could theoretically, if you wanted to have a party or a wedding or whatever, you could go in multiple different days and get multiple 2-gallon kegs.
A 2-gallon keg would be 256 ounces.
Is that right?
Which falls.
Your math sounds right.
You could get a 2-gallon and a crowler, Brian.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's what you can get, a 2-gallon.
I'm going to call that a Friday night. Looking forward to that. I wanted to do that. I don't actually have the tab
Paging
stuff.
no Mike Nate. Paging no Mike Nate. Please bring Black Booty Porter to the table.
Yeah. Oh, I need to drink my finish my Philly
Get
favorite.
on with it.
I've been talking and haven't been drinking, which is crazy.
Oh, how are you going to get through a keg if you don't?
Right.
Well, I'll do a lot less talking. Maybe some angry growling.
Angry growling.
Pretty much.
Oh, I got to show you something.
Uh-oh.
You'll appreciate it. Let's see. Let me get this. And
Out of my pen. Let's see. So we got the union taken care of. We've done this.
All right. Let me rewind that. Oh, no.
What's happening here? Oh, is that a bird?
Oh, wait. Hold. Oh, I hit the thing that.
I don't know what I saw, but it actually looked like somebody's acid trip.
Oh, now I've got it. What is this thing doing, man?
I don't know. I hear screaming. I mean, that's always a good sign.
I'm going to crush this thing. I'm going to break its spine.
The phone or the bird?
Yes. All right. Let me. Dude, what in the hell is this thing doing?
It's too bad we can't put this into the live stream and everybody watches it.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought this was going to be much easier than it is.
I hear a lot of fun screaming. Is that the bird making all that noise? Oh, yeah, dude just standing there.
So
He's just shaking his head.
So that reminded me of in the division where the person just runs around randomly.
Oh,
So
after
that's
the fact going, oh, ow, oh,
Yeah.
ow, oh.
So that's a game I'm playing right now. And
Oh, that's a game. I was trying to figure out what the hell
I
that
caught
was.
on fire and I put the fire out.
Oh,
But the sound of me being on fire didn't stop. So I just ran around screaming like that.
oh, okay. I thought it was the rooster making those noises.
No.
So I'm like, where is this at? Good graphics. I was fooled by this is a video of where
It
did
is.
where
It
did
is
this
good
come
graphics
from?
on that,
Yeah.
yes.
Well done. Well done.
That's Far Cry 6.
Far Cry
Brian.
6.
Yes.
One day I will play that. One day.
Need to get on it. I need some help.
Yeah, it seemed like a fun game. I'm still all stuck on my Division 2.
You've already beat that thing
I know,
a long time ago.
but I like to beat a horse when it's down, or beat a
Beat
dead
the
horse, or whatever. What's the phrase?
Flogging mollies. Do you
I
know what
like-
a candy flip is, Brian?
A candy flip?
Yeah.
No, isn't that a?
It's not important.
Oh, it's like I was gonna say, is that an iPhone game that people
No.
play?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
Uh-uh.
and it's
All
not
right,
a hot.
shall
It's
we
not
get
a,
back into it?
It's not a hot beer for the holidays.
Nope.
A candy flip. Okay, all right. What are we doing? We talked about
Seg 4.
So what do we have for that?
Scandalous beer shipments.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. We don't think we've covered the beer shipments yet.
Scandalous
Okay.
beer shipments and the Oregon. So let's start with the beer shipments because we got 2 Oregon stories to back each other there.
Yeah, and I think we've
Excuse
talked
me.
about the other one, but yeah,
Excuse
we
me.
can do the bourbon scandal one first. All right.
You know what?
Yes.
Hold on. I'll be right back.
Do.
Yes.
I can finish. I kind of need to take a leak myself, but I'm
Go,
thinking about
Brian,
I'm
go.
thinking about holding off.
No, do it. Leave me in the studio by myself.
You want the mic while I'm doing that? Look, give Mike the Nate.
What?
Give Mike the Nate.
What's that?
I think he's
Probably having
he's overwhelmed by his need to use the loo, as they say.
You just gave me Girl from Ipanema stuck in my head now.
The girl from Ipanema. Do. It's my favorite elevator music of all time. I actually like the song a fair amount. I don't know why. It's kind of almost a cliche, but it's a good song. It's a good song. There's a reason why it's featured on every elevator all the time ever.
Do you like Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley?
Yeah,
Speaking of other cliche songs that you hear all the time.
I do like that. That I like. Kind of ironically, I think at this
Mhm.
point in time, I saw a poster. Somebody put it out on Twitter. I think there was a checklist. Never going to give you up, let you down,
Mhm.
run around, desert you,
Desert
a bunch of
You,
all
yeah.
all the things in a check. So you had to know when you read the list. You're like, oh, this is a reference to this. So that's the best part. Is
What's getting rickrolled?
yeah, it kind of is
Yeah.
like in text or in a picture. So in a pleasant way. So having the video start playing on you unexpectedly is slightly jarring. You're like, oh, not ready for this. So
So I watched an interview recently with Rick Astley. Apparently they made up that music video for that song on the spot. Like,
it does kind of look like some dudes just screwing around.
and all the costumes as he's in were his clothes actually. And at one point, one dude like does a backflip. The dude just randomly in the middle of shooting was like, "Yeah, I can do a backflip. Cool, do that." Like, it's just like they put no thought into this.
So they spent zero money on it and put zero thought into it, and it became one of the all-time classics of Western pop culture.
Yeah.
Basically, well done, Rick Astley. He's one of those guys that's a pop musician that's unexpectedly clever. And there's one other guy, I'm trying to think of who it is. that if you follow him on social media, he's actually smart and funny. And who's the one that did Used to Know? I think it's that guy. Now You're Somebody That I Used to Know. It might be that. I think it's that guy. He had like one hit.
I can hear the song Gautier or something like that.
I think I'm not sure if it's him. It might be him. But if you follow the guy on social media, you're like, this guy, this guy could be writing comedy.
Thank you, Stephen Pete, for affirming that.
Great
Never Gonna
song.
Give You Up is a great song.
It is a great song.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
Gautier, something like that.
I don't know.
It might not be him either. Anyway, there's a number of musicians out there. A lot of I'm used to thinking of musicians as being guys that are big into partying, big into alcohol, big into drugs, big into women or men, whatever the thing is, and not so big into thinking. Like a lot of the other stuff, like they write songs, they manage to get that together and they're good with instruments, but the big thinking part's not so much their thing. But then there's every now and then you get the surprise dude like Rick Astley that when you actually see what they have to say from day to day on Twitter, you're like, these guys are legendary. They're just smart as hell.
Legend.
Yeah.
Dairy.
Yes. The masters of the dairy.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? There's one other.
I don't know what you said. So
I think it might be Gautier. He's like if you see him on social, I think it's, I'm not 100% sure, but if you see him on social media, he's like brilliant. He's just hysterically funny.
Okay.
And it's just unexpected, but I don't know if that's him. Anyway. All right.
It's interesting.
There is no way of knowing, but Rick Astley's a lot like that.
He's
sarcastic, funny.
Yeah.
It's like really smart.
Alec.
And he did some fun like cover videos. Him doing other people's songs during the pandemic that I found to be enjoyable.
The internet absolutely brought that guy back to life.
Yeah.
So the Rick roll has probably made him millions.
Oh yeah. Well, Nate was just saying the original video was just, they threw it all together. It's all his clothing. It's all, they just recorded some
It's
BS.
cheesy.
Yeah.
It's cheesy. Yeah. It's awful.
With
But-
the dance.
Yeah.
The dance.
He talks about the dance.
But it's classic now. You know?
It's beautiful. It's perfect.
Way to go, Rick Astley, man. Nice parlay there.
If you'd like to be on the show, Rick Astley, please get in touch.
He did do a beer with McKellar.
Did he really?
Mhm.
How did I miss that? What was the beer? Do you remember?
I don't.
All right.
That's probably been 5, 6, 7 years ago.
I'm going to be like Tim. I'm going to ask many probing questions about the
Hold on.
story that you're not prepared for.
Well, I didn't put my story on the sheet on the run of show.
Wait. What? No, I didn't put which was. Oh yeah, the Union one. Well, there wasn't a lot of information on that.
That's fine. That's fine.
It was a press release.
I actually stopped asking questions because I think I have milk Brian of info, and I don't want to put him too much more on the spot here.
Oh, I was getting to the point where I was guessing, a little speculation,
okay,
trying to.
but
Well,
do that.
based upon what the words they omitted, I'm guessing that this is true.
Yeah, well, we did find out that the last straw was a sword fight with HR, and they
That's
decided that was unacceptable.
And they didn't actually have swords.
And then Jake killed a guy with a trident,
Yes.
and they formed a union.
That's
joined the
Brick. I'm
Teamsters.
sorry. Brick killed a guy with a team.
Brick doesn't work at Widmer though.
Oh, yeah. Well, not anymore.
And
He
I'd be
doesn't.
willing to bet there is a Jake there.
Oh, probably.
I bet that's a safe bet.
You know what? I think almost every brewery has a Jake these
It's got to be a
days.
Jake.
It's a pretty common name.
All right, let's do this.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Your revolution is over, Mr. Lebowski. Condolences, the bum's lost.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Beer Guys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. Now let's get back to the show.
Brian, we've got a couple Oregon stories.
We do.
Oregon stories out here, and we mentioned this on the show before, but I think we just brushed on it. But the legendary Oregon Brewers Festival has been canceled, and we got some updated info that there is the potential this is for good.
Yeah, based on it was canceled not directly due to the pandemic, but the increase in costs, the declining attendance, which may be feeding into where the beer industry is going right now, and ongoing issues with the hospitality industry. The hospitality industry was kind of pandemic led, I think. The event organizers are putting it on pause. It's definitely off this year, and we can't expect it to return in 2024. And honestly, that's what we know at this point in time. It's on pause, and they say they will bring it back if it becomes feasible for them to do so. Like, it has to work, and there's not really good outline for how that's got to work. My guess is they've got to be able to, not lose money on it. So
this is something you may not even know, Brian, that I'm going to share with you now.
I doubt that. I know everything.
Did you know that Owen Ogletree retired Classic City Brewfest?
Oh, did he? Oh, no, I did not know that.
Yes.
Wow.
So
like
after
when did that
25
happen?
years, he retired the Classic City Brewfest. Now, there is another group that's picked up to do another festival in Athens. For the non-locals, Classic City Brewfest was put on by Owen Ogletree. You've heard us talk about Owen before with the Atlanta Cask Ale tasting and some other events. He does beer tours with Brewtopia events. But 25 years, Brian, since the 90s, as they call it. He's been doing that. And
They do call it the 90s.
He did officially retire the Classic City Brewfest.
Oh, was that that must have been really recent, because I guess I missed that.
Oh, you said you knew everything. So.
I thought I did.
Yeah,
apparently that was not whispered into my ear.
And more. I can't speak. More beer fest news. Sweetwater 420 Festival. Big change for them this year, Brian.
That's a really big point.
They have always held that at Centennial, or not always, but recently, I should say. They started smaller. But the last several years, they've held it at Centennial Olympic Park with big headlining acts like Snoop Dogg one year.
Yeah.
Now, if you have not been to the brewery in Atlanta, it's large. I mean,
It's
they've
very
got a lot
large,
of space
yeah.
there. So, yes, it's smaller than Centennial Olympic Park, but it's not like taking this to your neighborhood brewery. They've got a lot of space there.
True. I think they could still pull off a couple of different stages there.
Yes.
With a little bit of work. I
Sure.
think they could still pull that off.
And this is speculation. Sweetwater has not commented on this. And there's actually a different company that does 420 Festival for them. But neither have made comment to validate this. But in Georgia, we've got some weird gun laws here that prevents you from bringing guns into events at public spaces. And so there is speculation that one of the reasons may have been is if they take it to Sweetwater Brewery, that is private property, and they are able to prohibit firearms being brought on there. Because let's face it, 420 Fest attracts a lot of people who like to do beer and other things.
420 too.
And you don't really want a bunch of cross-faded people out there toting around firearms.
Yeah, it's probably a really bad idea. And I believe it's not that it matters to anybody that might act up. I think it may be still against the law to carry when you're intoxicated. Am I right on that? I don't know. I don't know.
I do know that if you use your firearm, even if it's in self-defense or something, if you are intoxicated, that's going to be taken as a consideration. And I hate saying anything that I don't know for sure, but I believe that discharging a firearm while under the influence in and of itself may be an illegal act.
And it's definitely,
let's just make up what we don't know.
That's true.
Let's just state it as fact. That's what the news does.
It's exactly right. And it is definitely frowned on to discharge a firearm in the city limits, or so I have learned.
Yeah.
So
anyhow it is. But back to Oregon, Brian, some interesting news, not beer news, but liquor related. And this is pretty big, man. This is a pretty big deal.
Yes. And because we love bourbon and bourbon barrels and what they do with beer and scandals in general, we have found out that the executive director of Oregon's liquor regulatory agency resigned Monday. Actually fired. He was asked to step down, but he was allowed to resign because he and other senior officials are under criminal investigation for illegally diverting, allegedly illegally diverting rare and allocated bourbons like your Pappies and whatnot for personal use. They claim that they paid for these bourbons, but and they did not resell them, but they may have given them around as gifts. So the Oregon ethics laws prohibit public officials from using confidential information in the course of their business for personal gain. So they were basically gaming the books so they could buy all of the Buffalo Trace antique collection stuff, your George T. Staggs, your Pappy, your Weller. I don't know, say the Weller antique collection. There's a lot of them. There's a bunch of really highly sought after bourbons
Sazerac,
out there.
Thomas Hardy.
Your Old Forester birthday bourbons, which is a personal favorite of mine. So these guys were basically using their connections and their information to be able to buy all of it for themselves. They
The
claim they never
connections
sold
being
it.
that they were literally with the liquor board, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now,
that'll do it.
apparently, they were using a liquor store that was near where their office was to actually do the buying. So they were trying to make it as legal as possible. But them gaming the books like this looks like it flies afoul of the Oregon laws. So
The fact that a 500 square foot Citgo station at the down on the corner is getting all the BTAC
Yeah.
collection there.
yeah,
How
it's
do
like
you have Pappy?
it's like, oh no, that's reserved. That's reserved. So that's the interesting thing. They seriously would have. I don't know. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a Circle K or whatever, a gas station
Strange
or
things
whatever.
are afoot.
It's possible, yeah, at the Circle K. It might as well have been, but they would seriously leave the office and go over and pick it up. It'd be
Yeah.
reserved for them because they got special treatment,
Sure.
So yeah, they
Now
lost their
this-
job, and they're seriously, they could go to jail for some of this
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. The liquor board doesn't play around with that stuff.
No, not at all.
Or the government. I guess the liquor board does, apparently, according to the news here. But these things are lotteried. They're allocated, they're lotteried. These are people beg to get them, and I guarantee these guys weren't paying what a consumer would have paid.
Oh,
for
absolutely
these
not. I'm
things.
sure there wasn't any markup. People knew who they were. That's the reason they were able to do it. And considering this is happening in Oregon, this is way away from Kentucky. Their allocation is going to be a lot smaller than it would be a place near in the South like us. It's just they're not going to
You'd
get
think,
the same
yeah.
amount. I know I've lived
Depending
there.
on how much, because I think it's all based on what do you sell. There's
True.
I
Yeah.
saw something recently, Brian. I think it was for Weller 12, possibly, which is it's not an allocated and all of that, or I guess it's limited. But the Weller 12 is one that's an affordable bourbon that just moves quick because it's really good.
Yeah.
But I saw a sign where a liquor store had put up that says you vodka in order to buy one bottle of Weller 12 because that's what we have to do. So the distributor is forcing
Oh.
you got to buy 2 cases of this vodka to get a case of Weller 12.
Well, as they say, the Dookie runs downhill.
It does, man. It does. You know what? You got to buy 2 bottles of this mid-tier vodka to get your bourbon.
I think it might have been Buffalo Trace that just announced they had doubled their capacity for distilling.
Yeah.
I think I saw that this week. I'm not sure I think it was Buffalo Trace. Four Roses, probably Buffalo Trace. They mentioned Weller in it, so I'm pretty sure it's Buffalo Trace.
We need to set our mission on we need to go and just like work the alphabet left to right and try a lot of mid-tier bourbons because we know there's a lot of good stuff out there that just doesn't have the hype behind it. And that's why Weller 12 forever didn't fly the way it
True.
does now.
Yeah.
So let's find them.
Sadly, I became aware of Weller 12 being a great bourbon shortly before everybody else did. So I got a couple of bottles at 20 some bucks a pop, and then they disappeared for a long time.
Well, I had someone, I had a pocket knife that I purchased and then didn't like it. And it was, to most people, this would be a very expensive knife. In the knife nerd world, it's kind of a mid-range knife, but it's like a $400 pocket knife. And so I was looking, it's spendy, but I mean, these things can go for $2,000. So this is kind of in the mid-range there, but not a cheap knife, I say. But I put it up for sale and someone made an offer to trade and they're like, hey, I've got several bottles of Weller 12. And I'm like, man, you're not going to give me a case of this though. Cause I'm thinking, what is it? $30 or so on the shelf.
That's what it used to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, he thought I was ridiculous. He's like, no, of course not. He's like,
I'm going to give you one bottle.
Yeah.
Like, that's
so he was basically looking at the aftermarket price or whatever they call it. And I don't do that.
The
I'm
secondary
not
market or the gray market. Yeah.
So I'm not about secondary market price for things. If I can't get it at retail or close to it, there's some things, but I'm not going to pay or trade $100 in value for a $30 bourbon.
I will pay a slight premium. Like if I were to find Old Forester birthday bourbon around and it were more than I paid by even possibly even as much as double as I used to pay for it when I was able to find it, I'd consider getting it because I did like that a lot. And it's a fun, special bourbon, and it's one to trot out when it's your birthday. It's like, oh, it's a birthday bourbon. It's my birthday, and it's really good. So
I do benefit analysis, Brian. is the price that I pay for this, does it justify that specific item's existence? If I were to pay half that price on a different item, could I match that quality? You know, and I look at that with everything: cigars, beers, pocket knives. You know, where does the quality land in relation to the price? And what you value it isn't necessarily what I would value it.
Very true. Very
But
true.
Brian, that is it. That's all we have time for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Make sure to come back and hang out with us next week. For more crapper info, follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We are Beer Guys Radio. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Boom, boom, boom,
So based
boom,
upon
boom,
the
boom,
flavor
boom,
bourbon
boom,
flavor
boom,
map
boom,
that we
boom,
were
boom.
looking at earlier,
Yeah.
I think that I need to try Henry McKenna.
I
because
remember you
it's
mentioning that.
in the proximity of flavor, sweetness, richness.
What's the price on that one?
I want to say that's probably in the 50s. I don't.
Give Nate the money and send him down to Minx.
All right.
It has gone up.
Henry McKenna has
See? Yeah, there
Oh.
you go.
Last time I saw it on the shelf, it was $50 a bottle.
50. Okay.
Okay.
I
all right,
it
all
was
right.
it was surrounded by other bottles. I think some of the other ones would be cheaper than that, but I've seen it around. I've never tried it.
Yeah.
And it's in terms of that map, if that map is accurate, I'm like, there's a good chance I will like
Check
that
it
bourbon.
out.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know what's crazy?
Cool.
4 years ago, it was $35 collecting dust on the shelf.
35 collecting
That's
dust.
the way they work, man.
Is
That's the way it
Henry
works
McKenna
sometimes.
highly sought after now?
Yeah, it got awarded Bourbon of the Year by Business Insider.
Oh,
yeah,
Bourbon of the Year,
okay.
Business
It's a
Insider. Okay.
10-year-old
They're the
bottle.
ones. See, they're the ones that are taking these shelfies.
Yeah.
And
They blow it out. It's a 10-year-old
Yeah.
bottled in bonds.
Okay.
okay.
That Old Forester, and this wasn't on the map, but the Old Forester Prohibition stuff is still readily findable, and it's pricey, but that's really good. And
What's pricey?
that's the 70s. Is
Okay.
that 60s and 70s? That's
Okay.
that's pricey, but not insane.
See,
And
again, that's
acquirable, like can
that's
be had.
good tier. That's
Yes.
good tier. But again, the good stuff, you break 3 figures easily, even at retail for some of these.
Subjective, though. Good is subjective.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like even talking with pocket knives and that there's knives that I have that I paid $50 for that I think were an absolute great value. There's knives I had that I paid $200 to $300 for that I think were really good value. But my benchmark, and the same for bourbon, no more about them than bourbon, but the Civivi knives in that $50 to $60 price range, the performance, the cut, the finish, all of that. If another knife can't match that, it can't cost more. And that's kind of the way I look at it with bourbons. If a bourbon can't beat you know what? I really like Makers. I like Makers. That's kind of a benchmark to say, all right, here's the mid tier. This is good. This is, what's it, up to 40 now or so? If you're not better than this, you can't cost more than $40, $50 is essentially where it is. And I try to avoid hype. I try based on hype, but I've been disappointed a lot based on hype.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the one that's still a good
Tell you
buy.
what, y'all, let's wrap up
Yeah,
here.
we should. Yeah,
Y'all,
let's talk
thank
about
you so
bourbon.
much for hanging. We're just rambling bourbon talk here, but we'll be back in next week. Come hang out with us, 7 o'clock, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching. We would much appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. We need more subscribers, and it'll
Please do.
make sure more people see these videos. So thanks again, y'all. Hope you have a good one. We'll see you next week.